Welcome back to The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Calypso Faria. Grenada's flagship festival, Spice Mass, gets ready to roll out. The celebrations are from August 7 to 14, but activities have already begun, including the Calypso tents sticking their heads out a little bit. Father's Day event coming up with Kaiso Bards, which is one of the bigger tents in the country. Joining me on the program now to talk about two big developments in Carnival this year, which is the return of the flagship Dimanche Gras show and the Queen show back to its original day, is a Finley scholar Jeffrey. Many times Calypso King in Grenada. He doesn't hold the title this year, but he's won the crown many times. He also represents the Calypsonians on the Spice Mass Executive Committee, and he joins me to talk about Carnival in general and share his thoughts on particular areas. Welcome to the program, King Scholar.
Thank you very much, Calypso. It's a pleasure, as always.
Well, it is good to have you on. Let's start with Dimanche Gras, because that's a big deal. I know that you were one of the people lobbying for that error to be corrected, which was moving Dimanche Gras out of Dimanche Gras and putting it on another day, which changed the total meaning and flavor of the event. That has happened. Was it difficult to get people to see that this change had to happen?
Well, it was not, and the truth is that the new Spice Mass Corporation Board, which took over from Ali Gill, so that was last year. I think what they were doing, they were just following in the footsteps of Ali Gill and what was placed, what they found basically. So they had the Calypso finals the Thursday, and after we had spoken to them, lobbied. They had agreed last year in principle, in fact, written, they wrote to say that last year was the last and that the March Gras would be reinstated. It would be reinstated. The form in which it would be reinstated, they did not say. But that the Sunday would be the March Gras, would be the Calypso finals, would be the king and queen of the bands, as we've had it previously. And they have been true to the word, and we are very grateful that you know, it was an experiment. The experiment ran its course like some kind of flu, and now good sense is prevailing, and the March Gras is back.
An experiment, but was it a failure?
It was not a failure per se, in that what the experiment was simply because they found that the March Gras, in terms of the Calypso and whatnot, had been dying on the Sunday night. And so they wanted to tweak with it to see whether it was the night itself that was causing it, one, or two, whether it was the venue that was causing it, two. And so they did the two things in one as an experiment. So they put it on the Thursday, and they put it also in Progress Park, because the feeling was, and the thought process was, that the catchment area for Calypso is basically Grenville, St. David's, St. Patrick's, all right? And so making it more accessible to the people who come from that catchment, they felt, you know, it was worth experimenting. And also the Sunday, because on the Saturday night, you have all kind of white show and so on, so that these things, they happen in the night, end in the morning. People who are the March Gras lovers, they are tired, they having their last little juice, their last little ounce of energy, they leave it specifically for the Juve, so they sit out the March Gras. And so the change to the Thursday was as an experiment to this. Now, what I think was not taken into consideration was the history and the tradition which surrounds the March Gras on the Sunday, plus the fact that it was like a kick in, you know, a slap in the face really, when a promoter seized on the opportunity and held an event on that Sunday in where the March Gras usually is in the stadium, and that really was a kick. Then the organizers realized, but wait now, we can't allow that to happen. And so regardless of what the experiment, and the fact that no matter the experiment, we felt it bore fruits. It was not a flop, it was not a failure. We saw the Calypso finals on the Tuesday in Grenada, massive audiences, and the venue itself was very intimate, but we cannot allow that to happen to the detriment of the most traditional form of carnival, which is the March Gras. And that is where good sense prevails. And whether the March Gras bus, whether the March Gras car, whether the March Gras truck, whether the March Gras train, whether the March Gras whatever, the March Gras, there is no substitute for it really.
Because, I mean, even in its name, you cannot call it the March Gras if you have it on a Thursday night. It has to be on that Sunday. That is what it is, Dimanche Sunday.
That's exactly what. So good sense prevail.
You know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking a simple survey might have given the answers to those questions that they had. Instead of moving to new venue, new day, a simple survey might have given, you know, some data collection might have given the answers to those questions. It's, you know.
Probably, but you know, we learn different ways. So survey is one way of gathering information which will help you to make decision. Another way is vicariously. You do it and you see it doesn't work. You know, so it is two ways. They did it. I would be honest with you if I tell you, Kalisha, that the Calypsonians, we prefer the Thursday, honestly, in Progress Park. As a Calypsonian, as a performer, it feels better, you know, but as somebody who understands the history of Carnival and so on, as I said before, feeling better is just a personal thing. It's a selfish thing, really, as a Calypsonian, but you must look at the bigger, broader picture. And especially, you see, if all of these things were happening and nothing was happening in the stadium on Sunday, you could live with it. You could bear it. But when something is happening which is far removed from anything which is steeped in traditions of Carnival, but just some promoter with some white show, you just can't accept it. You just couldn't accept it.
So the intimacy of the Progress Park venue, was it reminiscent of Moon and our old Queen's Park, our old wooden Queen's Park, what would that we love so much and broken down as it was? Yeah,
that's it. Because I can tell you that as a performer, when we are in the stadium, you see, they put the stage in the stadium to facilitate Soca Monarch. So there is a big expanse, really, but Soca Monarch is okay with that. But with Calypso doesn't do well with the expanse. So when you are on the March Gras stage in the stadium, you don't see people. People are far away. Even if they make noise, you don't feel of it because you don't hear it, really. And then they just have some spotlights in your eye making it worse. So you don't know what's going on. You don't feel it. But in Progress Park, we feel it. We see it. We are intimate. I can actually see who is in front of me while I'm singing. In the March Gras, you don't know who's there. You just see forms and figures and shapes.
And so they have moved it back to this bigger venue. But recognizing the difficulties that exist, are there any measures in place that will address those issues? Maybe taking into consideration that when it comes to the stage, it's not one size fit all for Calypso and Soca, and that they would try to accommodate that intimacy that the Calypsonians desire, and other measures that they were trying to correct by moving it in the first place. Are we doing anything different, or are we simply just going back to the way it was?
Well, I wish, Kalisha, but I understand too that logistically it will be difficult. What would be best is if the stage is moved closer to the stands for the March Gras. because the March Gras is more of a sit-down kind of event with very little space in the front for standing. You'll have the few people who like to stand no matter it's calypso and dance whole night and support and feel close. But the March Gras is a kind of sit-down thing, right? As opposed to soca monarch, which is a stand-up, jump up, run so and run across so they need space and expands. And so in taking that into consideration, I guess they build one stage because it's difficult to build that stage to accommodate the Friday night and then take it down and build something closer. So I understand the logistical issues that are involved, but we as the Calypsonians, it's a sacrifice that we will have to make. It doesn't matter. As long as the March Gras finds its home, we believe that we will be on the right side of history. So we can work with that. We can work with the FAR. We can work with the expanse. We can work with the forms and shapes, and we can work with that because we believe that history would not judge us and judge us harshly because we have moved the March Gras, taken it out, and in its place we put a white shoe. I don't think history will be ever kind to anybody who does that.
And maybe the spotlights that in the eyes of the performers should be onto the audience, so that you then can see the audience and
can feed from it. Maybe that's a part. Yes.
Yes. Not sure why they have spotlights in the eyes of the performers. That's very distracting. But now, part of the problem was all of these other events that are taking place that are competing. And so it was sort of also a protectionist kind of move to move the March Gras. But there are some who say, well, you know what, Trinidad and everywhere else that have festivals, they do those shows as well that are not steeped in the tradition of their festivals, but are these modernized fete things. So let it go and let market forces deal with the March Gras and Queen Show and everything else. Are we, where are you on that? Do you think that they should continue to take protectionist measures for our traditional events that get competition from the modernized, the moonlight, whatever, and so on?
Well, there are two conflicting streams of thought, really. And the truth be told, sometimes you think of it as the horse has already bolted, and it will be very, very difficult to drag it back, put it inside, and close that stable and latch the door. I think that the white shows and so on, those things have been happening for so long that they are now part and parcel of the whole experience, the whole carnival experience. Because we have to understand that even though we're speaking of traditions and so on and so forth, but we're also looking at people and what people may fancy and so on. And everybody would not fancy exactly the same thing. So you have something for everybody, fine. But there is also that stream of thought that Carnival is a cultural festivity, and we cannot and dare not and should not remove the culture from it, and in its stead put something else and allow it to grow and take on wings, you know. And this is what I think is being grappled with. I know that this Spice Mass Corporation, because I've been hearing conversations, I've been hearing talk that some kind of, as you say, protection thing is happening, or they have been grappling with it and toying with some kind of protection idea. I don't know how well things like that will go on, but what I can tell you is that stopping those white shows and those private fetes, it will be totally difficult. And so what has to happen, I think, is that the Spice Mass Corporation and so on, they have to become innovative. They have to start thinking out of the box, you know, in order to ensure that one can succeed in parallel with the others. You know, I know that this year, for example, the March Gras, they are thinking of some new innovations. So if I can, I don't want to preempt them because they have not had any press conferences on this, but we've had meetings, and I know that they are toying with an extempo competition within the March Gras, and also a soca freestyle competition within the March Gras, and the soca monarch first, second, and third, and the groovy monarch first, second, and third performing as well in the March Gras. You know, so it is those kinds of things that has to happen, and that I think that is where Spice Mass has to go and think outside the box, think innovative. But in terms of those shows, I think that the horse has bolted. Honestly, it has been going on for decades, and it will be very, very difficult to kind of pull it back.
But I remember in my early days of going to Calypso finals at Queen's Park, people were engaged, people were involved, people wanted to be there. There was a loyalty to the genre. There was a loyalty to the performers. You know, people came there, the competition, you know, people were divided along the performers, the lines of performers. Scholar had his people, and Wizard had his people, and Squeezy had his people, and people were really engaged and involved. That seems to have changed. Now we're into this Soca Monarch thing of running up and down in the stadium, and a lot of nonsensical back and forth and throwing words among Calypsonians and all of that. It seems to be Soca Monarch seems to be swallowing things up. And do you believe that an extempo competition or bringing the Soca Monarch guys into the stadium on that night, are those things sufficient to address the problem that is affecting the Calypso genre and people's loyalty and participation?
Probably not. Baby steps. But let me just say and qualify this. I don't think that there is nothing affecting the Calypso genre. And that's why the experiment was done in the first place. The Calypso genre is alive and well and kicking. If you have a Mother's Day show, or Godfrey does have Legends in Concert, can hold people. Alright? I know they used to have 2 Mother's Day shows, both of them packed out. And the same thing, I can assure you that the Calypso semifinals is usually bigger than the Soca Monarch semifinals in Grenville. So Calypso as a genre, there's nothing wrong. The issue is the March Gras. That's what the issue is. The issue is simply the March Gras, and there's just no support for the March Gras as in our time when we used to see it. So what really is the cause of that? And so this is why people tend to believe that without really doing any, as you said, empiricism, any empirical thing, they getting any empirical data or whatever, people tend to believe that it is the white shoes. And the fact that on the Saturday, so you come out from the Soca Monarch on Friday, you go to the white show on the Saturday. By the time you come to the Sunday, people are all burnt out, and the March Gras, not the Calypso, but the March Gras suffers. And that's why the experiment was tried. But obviously, I do not believe, as you said, that it would be the panacea really for solving the low turnouts of the March Gras. Baby steps, and we'll try that, see how it goes, and then add some innovations, because Trinidad has grappled with the same problem. Trinidad, the March Gras is usually empty. People don't know that, but it is suffering the same problem. I think this year it had people because Marshall was there, so there were crowds. But usually Trinidad, the March Gras is empty, and Trinidad has tried all kinds of things. 1 song, 2 song, the March Gras did just as they had the March Gras on a different day. They did all kind of crazy things until they sort of resigned themselves to the fact that It will not be much people, but we're sticking to the traditions. But they're usually empty as well.
Because it means something as part of the festival. Maybe
Yes.
we should try to get Specky. Maybe we should figure out how Specky gets into the Calypso finals. If Marshall was able to bring crowds to Trinidad, maybe Specky can bring some crowd to ours. And this year, you know, you never know. Uncle might be able to do. Uncle might be able to do the trick.
Well, I doubt Specky, but I doubt Specky will, because Specky was in the March Gras in 2016, I think, or 2017. Nothing changed. So maybe we have to get Boise and Terra the governor. Now, if these two guys are in the March Gras, then probably we start speaking.
Can guys like that transition to calypso, which is both in the lyrics and composition, the composition, and so it's, you know, a little bit, my expectation of calypso is a little bit different from what they do with the soca and you know, their lyrics and all of that. Can people like that do, you know, your assessment as someone who's been in the business,
Certainly,
good calypso performers?
Certainly they can. As a matter of fact, Dash has all the ingredients for calypso. I mean, his lyrics is calypso lyrics, really. So Dash has nothing much to do, really. Boise, Terra, these guys, they dabble with this idea in the head, really, for years. But the truth is that, you see, by September, October, November, they'll call me, they'll speak this kind of talk in me. Oh, you want to be the calypso this year. And then by the time you see May and thing, they forget about it. And they gone back to the thing. But surely, I think one of the things that is probably the biggest hindrance for them, which worked in Marshall's favor, is that Trinidad, calypso and the March Gras is one song. In Grenada it's two. So it's much more difficult for Boise and Terra and those guys to find two songs to sing in the March Gras as it was for Marshall to do one song. I can bet you that if Trinidad Calypso was two songs, Marshall would not be in Calypso.
Why is that?
Two songs is just difficult. Or art form that we play. I mean, the real foundational calypso is difficult, you know. That's why you see we're not getting a lot of people gravitating to calypso. You know, calypso is the test cricket really of the genre of the art form. Soca Monarch is the T20. Everybody plays T20 all over the place, all over the world, and then the groove is like the 50 overs. So you have now a lot of fellas playing in that too, but you think it's easy to 5 days test cricket, 2 days, 2 songs, first round, second round, different clothes and all this kind. And then of course you have to remember all of these things in calypso, and you know how calypso is in soca. Once you forget something, you just say low. You can't make mistake in soca. You know, anything you're breaking low. Calypso you can't low. You can't low. You just have to go and you have to remember things. So calypso is a much more difficult. It's for the purists, really. And when you have 2 songs, it makes it extra difficult than if, let's say, it's 1 song.
Because I remember the great fear of busing in Queen's Park. If you bust in Queen's Park, it was like, wow, you know, you are real problems, eh?
That's exactly that.
But Scholar, do you remember when our calypso or finals was a combination? We had this soca monarch round, really. What is now soca monarch? We had both of them. We had the soca monarch round, guys who did the soca, and you did that social commentary, sort of serious calypso. You did that first, and then you did the upbeat one after. We had that, didn't we? Or am I reading it wrong?
You're not reading it wrong at all. That's what we had. We also had the audience knowing the songs that Ajamu and Wizard and Specky and so on are singing word for word, because those were the only songs that were played on the radio stations, right? And people knew them, you had no choice. Now the radio stations don't play calypso at all because of the soca. So everything, as you said, soca swallowed the other genre, the calypso and so on. Although Marshall was making the point this year that it's not so, but it is. Soca has swallowed up everything. So what we had before was a slow run, and then you have the kick-up run, because remember, that faster run brought you straight into Juve, right? So it had to be a little more up-tempo. But since the soca monarch came, there was no need really for the fast run anymore, because soca came in and took care of that. So Calypsonians went back into just singing straight and strictly calypso. Although over the last couple of years, the calypsos have become faster and the soca have become slower. They have slowed down. So it seems as though the stars are basically aligning and they are coming together. I don't know at which point they would meet, if they would ever meet whatsoever. But over the last couple of years, the calypsos have been a little faster and the soca has been a little slower.
Are the calypso guys trying to play to this appetite that people seem to have for soca now, by being a bit faster? But hopefully the convergence will bring some sort of positive change. But as we look for solutions to get more people engaged and more people in the stadium for the finals, do you think that maybe the Calypsonians, who have the total power to do so within themselves, can go back to that formula of a fast song and a slow song? Because you guys can do it. You can decide on your own from within your tents that you will do, you'll duplicate the formula that we saw in Queen's Park in the 90s.
Well, it's something that I don't believe you should legislate.
Well, not legislate, but among yourselves, that you just decide, you know what, the Kaiso Bards, let's do a fast and a slow.
Yeah, it's difficult. Some people are comfortable singing slow and they're singing good slow. Some people are comfortable singing medium pace and they sing good medium pace. Some people faster, they sing good. So people have their comfort zones. You don't take them out from it. But I don't know what has happened. Sometimes music just evolves and there are trends and so on, and people hold up to it. But if you, for example, the Marchga, not the Marchga, but Calypso finals last year, most of the second round songs were fast. Or faster. Not fast, but probably faster. 110 and upwards BPM. Which means that Calypsonians have not even spoken about it, but have just done it. You know, so let's see what will happen and where it goes. But as I said, I've been seeing a speeding up, and people are able to use the songs and have a nice like a party and dance and so on, while the songs are still inspirational, hard hitting, whatever. And I think this probably is what you're alluding to. That's what you're saying you want to see. And that's the thing about calypso. That's the thing about music. It trends, it evolves, and usually you just go with it.
Honestly, I am still stuck in the 90s in Queen's Park. I'm still there. I never left. you know, I'm remembering Specky with his space rocket on stage. This was so what we're raving about in Soca Monarch. No, we were doing it on a smaller stage and a smaller scope. We didn't have all the technology and all the lights and all the things that we have now. But this was, and it was a wonderful experience to see that way. And even in a bigger venue, I just feel like there's no disservice if we can recapture what the Calypso finals was back then, because to me, I felt that it was a really well put together, satisfying experience for people who like to listen to Calypso. You know, can't sing it, but I like to listen to it.
And the truth be told, Kalisha, there are recordings of them on YouTube, Gentle Ben, and so on. And when you go into those YouTube videos and you look at them, it's even better than when we experience it, you know. I mean, still I look at those things and I'm mystified. I still can't believe that that was what you saw when Specky singing. You could hardly hear anything. It's just nice from the audience. Everybody's singing, and I mean, it was such a nostalgic experience. I don't know if we'll get back to that. Time moves on, and there are some things that we never recapture.
Well, true, true. Now, let's take a break here, Scholar. When we come back, I want to focus on the, you talk a little bit about your tent, what your schedule is this year and what we can expect from your tent. And maybe if you want to speak generally on the Calypso offering, because you represent Calypso on Spice Mass as well. And to talk about the Carnival bands, because that's another issue as well, and it's outside of your area of speciality, but I want to talk to you about that situation that we're seeing, where we have a Monday where you don't wear costume, but you go on the road with a t-shirt and all of that, which seems to be another diluting of the products that we are supposed to be selling for Grenada Carnival. We'll be right back. This is The Narrative, speaking there to Scholar Jeffrey, Calypso King of Grenada on many occasions, and also the representative on the Spice Mass executive of the Calypso community in Grenada. We're discussing the Grenada Carnival with particular focus on Calypso, the return of Dimanche Gras to the stadium, what used to be the Queen's Park stage, the National Stadium, the return of that. And when we come back, we'll take a look at what's happening in his tent, Kaiso Bards, as well as what's going on with Fancy Mass in St. George's on Carnival Monday and Tuesday. Back in a moment.